a game that I am very excited about that has been building in buzz for quite some time, guys, is Metroid Prime and the return of this franchise. Something that I've been kind of waiting for quite some time, and a very fun, exciting game, guys, that I think a lot of people are really excited about. So let's talk about everything we know so far about the game. So according to Wikipedia, guys, Metroid Prime 4 is an upcoming action-adventure game developed by Retro Studios and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo Switch. The game is part of the Metroid series and the sequel to Metroid Prime 3 Corruption, which was in 2007. Guys, just take that into consideration for 1 second. 2007 was the last Metroid Prime, main continuation of the story. Just main continuation of this franchise. How crazy is that? It's been so long, guys. It was announced at E3 2017 during Nintendo's online showcase, and it was initially to be developed by Bandai Namco Studios in Singapore. However, in January 2019, the game's development restarted under Retro Studios with producer Kensuke Tanabe. So, it's unreal, guys. When you really kind of think about it, how long it's been since this franchise has kind of been in a limbo state, like a place where we just have not heard anything about it, and kind of like what is going on with this franchise at this point. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. There's no talks of, there hadn't been any talks for so long. People were wondering, where is Metroid Prime 4 or a continuation of the story and franchise? And finally, guys, it's coming. So, in an article that was written by, of course, by Tech Radar, Emma Boyle from Tech Radar, it's been 10 years since the last Metroid Prime game, so to say fans are hungry for more Samus would be an understatement. Then finally, during its E3 2017 livestream, Nintendo announced a brand new Metroid Prime game is coming to Nintendo Switch. But that's all we got, an announcement that included a logo for the new Metroid Prime and little else. No release date, no developer information, no footage, nothing. So that is something that a lot of people are kind of interested about, to see what this game is going to look like. In January 2019, fans were disappointed to learn that Metroid Prime 4 is probably going to be a while off, as Nintendo scrapped the project and decided to start again with the help of Retro Studios. So, regardless of the extra wait time, we're excited to see Metroid Prime 4 on the Nintendo Switch whenever that will be. So here is everything that we know so far. Now, we know that it'll be on Nintendo Switch, guys, and that's pretty much where it'll be at this point. We have no idea when we're going to be able to play it. And the release date, we weren't quite sure when Metroid Prime 4 would release, but now we know it definitely won't be for a while, as Nintendo announced in January 2019 that it had scrapped the project and started again with help from Retro Studios. So I'm wondering how much of a development hell this has been for Metroid Prime 4, because when you think about it, it's like, okay, so it got completely scrapped. I mean, how far along were they with Bandai Namco before they scrapped it in January 2019? I mean, that is crazy. I mean, I'm thinking that they were probably pretty far along, I would think. Maybe they were in the very early beginnings of it, but I feel like they were probably, starting to move in a pretty, decent direction with development, and then all of a sudden just got completely scrapped in 2019. Now, with Retro Studios now running development, Metroid Prime 4 has got some fresh, big-name talent behind it, with the studio signing on some fresh talent. Johnny Junstedt, the former art director at Studio Dice, is joining the team, having previously worked on Battlefield 5, Medal of Honor, the 2010 reboot, and Mirror's Edge Catalyst. He's being joined by Kyle Helfie, Halo character designer, and Stephen Dupre, who returns to Retro Studios, having previously been the lead designer on Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. There was no appearance at E3 2019. Obviously, Retro Studios is hiring currently for Metroid Prime 4. It was something of a shock when Nintendo announced that it would be starting from scratch on the development of Metroid Prime 4 with Retro Studios. The latest news from this new phase in the game's development is that Retro Studios is now hiring and looking to increase numbers on its development team. The roles are wide-ranging and all are based at the studio in Austin, Texas. These advertisements suggest the game is still in the early stages of development, so it could be sometime before we get any more solid updates on its progress. And I think that's probably an understatement. I mean, when you think about it, guys, obviously, we're probably not going to hear anything because this game obviously got scrapped and it was started back up, let's just say January 2019, okay, that they were like restarting development. We probably won't hear anything until, I would say, we'll be lucky if we hear anything this year in 2020, but I would say maybe 2021, maybe even 2022 is when we're really going to start hearing a lot more about it. And then, of course, we'll probably be able to play the game and get your hands on it somewhere in like late 2021, maybe 2022, maybe even beyond that. It's really hard to say. So, back in January 2019, Nintendo revealed in a development update video that it scrapped the current project as it wasn't happy with the current progress. However, Nintendo still plans to reboot the project with help from original creators, obviously Retro Studios. This change will essentially mean restarting development from the beginning, so completion of the game will be delayed from our initial internal plan. Nintendo's senior managing executive officer, Shinya Takahashi, explains in the update video. We strongly recognize that this delay will come as a disappointment to the many fans who have been looking forward to the launch of Metroid Prime 4. So the story, there's so little Metroid Prime 4 information out there that piecing together the story is nigh impossible. What we will say is that Metroid Prime 3's ending didn't strike us as open enough for any kind of direct continuation. Though Samus's went into hyperspace, giving the opportunity for a sequel to enter a new world or a galaxy, we'd say the core story of the original trilogy is now closed. As far as gameplay goes, one thing we can be fairly confident is that, like other Prime games, Metroid Prime 4 is likely to be a first-person shooter. Other than that, we can't say what kind of gameplay changes will arise from either the new developer or the Switch platform. Me personally, I really want this to feel fresh. I want it to feel really, I want it to feel like Metroid Prime, obviously. But I'm just excited, and I think the big thing is, guys, is that it seems like it's gone through development hell, which is always like a red flag in my book. However, they're starting from scratch. Obviously, they didn't like where they were at. I would have liked to see where they were at, especially if this game comes out and people don't like it. I'm going to really want to know what the other version of the game looked like with Bandai Namco. It's going to be really interesting, but something I would love to see, maybe an open world, a style of Metroid Prime. And I think, obviously with better enhanced graphics and things of that nature, we might be in for somewhat of a treat. Now, a more open world, like I said, as we said, this is a new start for Metroid Prime, which means room for changes. Though we're worried it could be a case of be careful what you wish for, we'd be interested to see the Metroid Prime games follow in the footsteps of Zelda and Mario to embrace a more open world format. The first three titles were already pretty big, but the Switch offers more scope. We think the Super Mario Odyssey approach of large interconnected worlds could translate well, and I agree 100% with that. I think it would work out well for this. Just as a new start is a chance for innovation, it's also a chance to welcome a new generation of Metroid fans. It's the same with any series that goes on for a long time. There's a certain amount of assumed knowledge and lore that makes coming in as a new player feel more like a chore than a joy. We'd love to see Metroid Prime 4 take a Monster Hunter World approach by retaining what makes it great while giving new players a way in. And then new weapons and abilities, I agree with this one. The Metroid series has some seriously cool weapons and abilities for Samus's armor, and we'd like to see more of them. By all means, bring back the classics, but bring a couple of exciting new upgrades to the table will make us feel like we're truly progressing in the game as well as the franchise as a whole. 100% agree. Bringing Silex back in 2015, producer Kensuke Tanabe said that the ship at the end of Metroid Prime 3 actually contained Silex, a hunter from Metroid Prime Hunters. Tanabe said that he'd like to create a Metroid game which featured both Silex and Samus and explored their dynamic, something which we'd also like to see happen. The characters have an unexplored and potentially interesting history. It's known that Silex isn't the biggest fan for Samus or the Federation, yet he uses a Federation weapon. That alone has us thinking he'd make an engaging villain for a new title. I think that would be pretty cool. But look, guys, even like if you go onto Amazon, you can actually pre-order this game already. $59.99, it's on here. You can pre-order the game at this very point. And obviously it says the item has not yet been released, and you can pre-order it. And, you know, I'm sure there are people that actually have probably already pre-ordered it, but I'm not going to pre-order my copy, guys, until I know for sure it's something that I'm going to want to play. And so I'm going to want to watch gameplay and trailers and things of that nature. That's what I usually do, and then kind of go from there. But I'm sure it's going to be something I'm going to want to play. But it'll be interesting to see how, with the new studio coming in and them being involved, how good is this game going to be? I think it could be really something special. But I would love to hear from you guys. What are you guys most excited to see about Metroid Prime 4? What are some new things you want to see? Some old things from the other games? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Metroid Prime 4 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.